Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 44. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined as always by my co-host Joe Payne. And as always, we are brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor, Anthony Curtis's Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com for all your Las Vegas need to know and do information. Joe, I know it's been a couple centuries since you were in school, but it's report card time. The Golden Knights are 20 games into the season. I know it's hard to believe, but we've reached the quarter pole, and it's time for you and I to have an in-depth discussion about the report card for the Golden Knights, all aspects of their play, but we'll also talk a little bit about individual players' performance. We'll try to grade everybody real quickly, but the focus of this episode is going to be the big picture. And I guess we should start out with the fact that after 20 games, the Golden Knights are 15 up, 4 down, and they got McDavided a couple of nights ago for one overtime loss, 31 points, sitting third in the NHL standings right now behind the very surprising New Jersey Devils, who we'll get to later, and the Boston Bruins, who are on an absolute tear right now. So the Golden Knights offense is
Is Jack Eichel.
Well, it certainly seems to focus around Jack Eichel. But right now they're fourth in the league in goal differential. They are third in the league in goals. So, Joe, how's the offense doing?
The offense is doing great. I mean, we finally are putting pucks in the net where that was the problem last year. You know, we didn't have any scoring. We didn't have Eichel until very late in the season, and he really wasn't 100%. I mean, I think he broke his thumb a couple of games in and continued to play through that. But we see what a fully healthy Jack Eichel and what a fully healthy Mark Stone can do. That first line is running on all cylinders. Stone scored 2 last night. Eichel set up 2.
Eichel sort of scored 2 last night.
Yeah, he scored
happened
one
to pinball him off of.
Yeah, he pinballed one off of Stone, and he pinballed one off of Carrier last night. But he's just, I mean, and we've discussed this before, watching Eichel is just a treat. If you're a hockey fan, watching him, he is just smooth. He's really smooth.
And you know, the telling thing is, even his teammates realize it. Mark Stone was talking in an interview yesterday with Ashley Weiss, and he said, when he extends his arm and the puck is on his stick, you're not getting the puck off of him. He's too big. He's too strong. And we have talked about this sort of ad nauseum. His vision on the ice, the way that he sees and knows where people are going is just, I don't know. We shouldn't slurp on Jack Eichel that much. So offensively, I wouldn't quite say they're hitting on all cylinders yet. I mean, if you take the offense in a whole, and if you were going to grade the offense line by line, right? You'd have to give the Eichel line an A. You'd have to give the Misfits line an A. Once you put them back, their chemistry was immediate. The fourth line, there isn't a grade high enough as far as how much more they're giving above the expectation we had for them. Bruce Cassidy challenged them really early in the season, and they answered the bell.
Actually, the fourth line, in my opinion, is more like the 3A, 3B line. They're playing well enough that they could be the third line.
So if we have 3 4.0s, and then we have the Kessel line, which is probably a D. Right?
A D?
A D. How many goals they have? How many points do they have? Their plus minus is not great.
I wouldn't give them a D. I might give them a C minus, but I don't think I would give them a D. I mean, when you're 15-4-1, is there anybody who deserves a D grade? I don't think so. And you're 9-1-1 on the road.
Well,
how are you giving out D's here?
Look at it this way: the third line had less than 10 minutes of ice time last night.
Well, the third line,
they haven't found any chemistry. between Kessel and Amadio and Howden and Cotter and Lecision. I think that's it. I think that's the five. That's the five of them.
Here's the problem that Cassidy has. He's not going to touch the first line. He's not going to touch the misfit line.
Okay.
And he sure as heck's not going to touch the fourth line. That only leaves him those five players to kind of rotate. And Kessel is not going to be rotated. So you have those other four guys that are going to be rotated in and out of the lineup. And that's probably the problem, one of the problems of why there hasn't been some sort of, I wouldn't call it instant chemistry, but a chemistry where they're jiving together because they're in Amadio, Howden, they're
Cotter, Lecision,
Cotter, they're in and out of the lineup, so you can't get any cohesiveness right there. So
are they average? Are they a C?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't give them I think you're being real tough on them by giving them a D. I would think a C is okay for that line. I mean, so if you're giving that line a D, what are you giving the team overall, Eddie?
I'm going to give the TO, let's see, it's 4, 8, 12, 13. Alexa, what's 13 divided by 4?
3.5?
3.25. So I'm going to give them a B. I'm going to give them a B plus offensively.
Okay.
As a team. 3.25 out of a possible.
I think that's
4.
fair. I'm
going to give them a B plus.
Okay. But I think you're being too critical of the third line by giving them a D.
Okay, so if we gave them a C, it goes up to 3.5, and we're still at that B plus, almost A minus.
Right, and which I think the team really falls into it. I think they're playing at that level right now.
Okay. Real quickly, we're just going to go line by line, player by player, and we'll sort of use the criteria of, are they playing better than we expected them to play? Are they playing worse than they expected to play? Or are they playing pretty much as we expected?
That's fair enough.
Fair enough. Okay. Number 1 on our list is Chandler Stevenson.
He's playing as well as I think he was going to play. I don't think he's dropped off. I don't think he's achieved more than what I've expected. I think he's playing exactly at the level he's supposed to be playing at.
Okay, Jack Eichel.
Way above where he's supposed to be.
Way above, even with the loftiest expectations that we had. I mean, in the first episode, I told you he was going to score 100 points this year, and you kind of give me a little bit of you might be getting 100 out ahead of your skis there a little bit.
I don't know if he's going to get to 100 points. He probably may, but 85, 90 is well within reach for Eichel right now. Well within reach.
Okay. So you're going to say well above expectations.
Yes, as far as Eichel, playing well above expectations.
Mark Stone.
Considering it coming off back surgery, playing well above expectations.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah, with that line, I don't think you can find any fault at all with that first line.
No, they considering the magnitude of back surgery and the absolute complete unknown. I mean, we talked to him after the last home game, and we were not really teasing him, but we were asking him about the comment about him giving up golf.
Yeah.
And you asked him, how does he feel? And he said, I feel great. And that was the opening of the quote. I feel great. And then he went on to explain that he wanted to be a hockey player first, and that's why he wasn't.
His goal was to play 82 games this year.
Right. So yeah,
and that's the reason he's kind of left the link, so to speak. Not because he feels he can't, but he just feels that, you know what, I'm getting paid a lot of money to be a hockey player here in Las Vegas, and that's what I'm going to do first.
Yeah. So there were reports that you've given up golf. Is that because of the back, and is it just during the season you've given up golf, or is it overall?
I mean, I was rehabbing all summer. I couldn't play golf. I couldn't play hockey. So my first step was to become a hockey player again, and that had little things I had to stop doing. I mean, it changed my training. It changed my off ice habits, and I mean, I'm going to be able to play golf again. It's just a matter of time. But I want to play 82 games this year, so I'm just looking to play. I just want to be a hockey player.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, I think he is wildly exceeding expectations, probably because the expectations had to be really tempered.
Yes.
You know, so okay. William Karlsson
got off to a pretty good start, and it's
got
kind
to a
of
great start.
yeah, and it's kind of leveled out a little bit here. I think he's gone. Is it 10 or 11 games without a goal now?
Yeah, it's something like that, 9 or 10
Yeah.
games.
So if we're going to talk about Karlsson first, I expected him to have a breakout season with the new system that he's playing under, and it looked like I was going to be spot on with that when he got off to a pretty good start. He's kind of leveled off a little bit, but I still like Carlson's game. I mean, he's a very good two-way player. What he may lack right now in offensive skills, he makes up on the other side of the puck. He's very good defensively. He's good on the penalty kill. So, do I expect him to score more? I sure hope so. Yes. I mean, I told you I thought he would score at least 22 goals this season, and he was on that pace early, but he's kind of slacked off right now.
So above expectation, as expected, or below?
I'm going to say as expected, only because he started off well, is kind of slacked off. So my opinion has kind of gone back to maybe as expected.
Okay. Riley Smith.
Way above where, it was funny. There was an article someone wrote, and I'm not sure who I can give credit to, but they listed the 32 worst contracts in the NHL on each team. And Riley Smith was, according to this gentleman, was the worst contract the Vegas Golden Knights had on their salary right now. Boy, he is playing way above it. I believe he's got 3 shorthanded goals.
Tied for the NHL lead with 3
tied
shorthanded
for the NHL
goals.
Lead.
Got his 9th or 10th last night.
He's just playing
right?
well, and he's playing way above expectations. And I think it turns out to be a good signing. As of now, it's a good signing for the Vegas Golden Knights.
So we'll regress for just one question. Would you rather have Riley Smith at 5 or Max Pacioretty on the last year of his deal at 7?
Riley Smith at 5.
That's the end of the
that's hands down.
That's case closed right there. Another McCrystal ball moment, right?
Yeah. So much for going after the shiny objects, but he's discarded a couple of shiny objects, and
they ain't near as shiny anymore.
And he's looking real. McCrimmon is the moves he's made this season. He's looking real good right now.
Jonathan Marchessault, little ball of nasty.
Does he remind you of that little guy over in Boston too? But not as dirty.
He's not as much of a dick,
yeah,
as Marchand, and he's certainly not as dirty a player. He's not.
He's not dirty. But
on the dirty scale, they're not even on the same scale together.
No.
But I think that Marchand is a little bit feistier, but I think that Marchie fits in absolutely perfect, and God bless him. He played his 500th game in the NHL last night, and you
just see how much he wanted a goal last night.
They fed him like a starving kid.
Oh yeah, he was on the food line last night, and they were trying to get him that goal, and he wanted that goal big time last night, and he came real close.
He got a good.
He rang one off the post.
He rang the pipe right after.
He rang the pipe, and Riley Smith rang the pipe like 2 seconds later.
Okay, so Marchessault, above expectation, as expected, or below expectation?
Oh, no, definitely not below.
Right.
I would put him somewhere as expected and closer to above expectations. He's playing well, and he's feisty as ever. He's the heart and soul of this team. That's exactly what I'm saying. He really is. Mark Stone is the heart and soul of the team, and he is demonstratively. I mean, Stone when he emphasized, like when Stone scores a goal or anybody scores a goal, you're not sure if Stone scored it or somebody else. That's how excited he gets. But Marchessault, in my opinion, is the heart and soul of this team.
Okay, now we get to the more difficult parts. Phil Kessel.
Not as well as I thought he would get out of the gate. I thought he would get out of. They brought him in supposedly to make up for the goals that we're going to miss with Pacioretty, and that really hasn't happened so far. He ironically scored a goal and is breaking the record on what 991,
right? 990,
and I think he's only got 2 or 3 goals this year, right?
Yeah.
And
So,
so
underperforming.
Slightly underperforming, but look who he's playing with.
I was just going to ask you, how much of that is due to his line mates and the fact that they haven't found.
I would say he would have double the amount of goals if he was still playing on the top line where they opened the season up with, which was Eichel, Kessel, and Riley Smith. Right? Was that the line that they had together during training camp?
Yep.
If he was on that line, he'd have probably double the amount of goals, if not more. I mean, Eichel's just a feeding machine. He just dispenses pucks to everyone in great situations, like the pass he made to Theodore for the overtime winner was great. I mean, he just drew everybody to him and just placed the puck perfectly right into the slot for Shea Theodore to swoop in and score the game winner in overtime.
I think that Phil Kessel is slightly underperforming, but I think that it's 99. I don't think 99. I think it's 100%. It's 100%. I don't think that he's regressed as a player at 35 years old. He still has great wheels. He still is one of arguably the best passers in the entire NHL, and he still has a wicked shot and a wicked release.
But he has no one to play with.
I think that he hasn't kind of found his groove with the kids yet. And he's going to have to they're going to have to do something, or they're going to make a depth forward trade. That's my breaking news thing. If that line, in whatever machination it becomes with Lecision or Cotter or Howden or Amadio, whatever group of those end up playing, if they don't get there, right? If they don't get to the point where they're at least contributing, there will be a depth forward trade.
Do you like the idea of possibly when Waugh gets back from injury, moving him up as the third line center? You think that'll help Kessel a little bit?
I think that would help Kessel significantly.
Yep.
And I don't think that the fourth line would suffer too much with Howden going down to 4C between Carrier and Colasar. And if I was a betting man, I would say that's going to at least get a good look when Waugh is healthy.
Speaking of good looks, how about seeing William Carrier on the power play? That's a look you haven't seen.
Well, Bruce Cassidy,
and he deserves it.
Bruce Cassidy follows you on Facebook, and he saw Carrier quoted about getting 1,000 a goal from Land. So Bruce decided to try to pick Land's pocket for some scratch and put him on PP2 just to see if we could get a few thousand more out of her handbag for some charity money. So thanks, Coach Cassidy. We appreciate you watching us and following us. And let's keep Will Carrier on PP2 and get some more Land's money.
Yeah, Land might have to cancel some of her travel plans. She's always traveling to Michigan for Michigan State games, not Michigan State, for Michigan football games, to San Diego for World Series games.
Okay, we got to get back on track. Enough about our friend Land. Our guy Paul Cotter, above expectation, as expected, or below expectation?
I think as expected. I mean, he got off to a pretty good start. Then he had a little bit of a lull. He got pulled out of the lineup. He's back in. He hasn't really made that much of an impact since his return, but he's been steady. So as expected, I'm going to go with Paul Cotter.
I'm going to say slightly above expected. I think that when training camp started, nobody said he was going to make the roster. So that's the first up. He did get off.
Not nobody. You were one of the few people who said he had a shot of making the roster. I thought he did too, but you were high on him.
I think that he's answered the bell for Coach Cassidy. I think he took the challenge personally, And you're right. He did take 3 games off. And Coach Cassidy said that he did have a little bit of a slip of his game. But all in all, seeing him as the most likely to play 45, 50, 55 games, I think is a little bit more than maybe what they had expected from him. I don't think the team maybe thought he was going to be close to a full-time forward.
Right.
And he, I think, arguably is the most consistent of the 4 of those guys.
He is. Yes. I agree.
Brett Howden.
Less than expected.
Okay. I think we all thought that, I mean, for me, him and Amadio are sort of the same kind of thing.
They're one and the same.
So I kind of thought that we would get a little bit more. I certainly thought we would be getting more out of Amadio.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I think that Howden is probably a more you can more use, more flexibility. You can move him down to 4C, and so I think that Howden is still a work because he hasn't got much ice time at all. I think Amadio is below expectation for sure. I don't know if it's just what, I guess you could probably call it the curse of the third line, where they're just not gelling in any machination, any form. No. But I think that to go back to our previous part of our conversation, if that experiment of moving Wah up to 3C sticks, I think Howden is going to be 4C, and Amadio and Lecision are probably going to be
odd man out.
The odd people out. That's how I kind of see that. So I think Amadio is not performing as much as we had expected, but honestly, we don't know enough to talk about his game.
I agree
at all. We move to the 4th line. Will Carrier.
Excellent. Way above what and I know he's hot on the puck. He's good. He creates energy. He creates some space for the first line. But his offensive skills that we've been seeing over the last couple of games, and his going hard to the net. I've seen moves that I didn't think he was capable of making, where he takes the puck on his forehand and protects it and keeps it out wide and just kind of lowers his shoulder and goes across the net, from both directions, from both off wing and his natural wing. He gets a B+ for me. I would like to give him an A, but I'm not there yet. But I still think
remember the criteria is above expectation.
Above expectation.
If he was a true finisher, he could have 10 goals. He's had at least 4 breakaways.
He had
right?
He could have had 3 goals last night.
Right. I mean, he is, I don't want to say the biggest, most pleasant surprise on the roster, because we've always sort of seen glimpses of it. But now he's getting, the last few games, they've been getting 3rd line minutes, right? He's up to playing 13 a game around there from 9. And like you said, we know he can drive the net. We know he's tough to get off the puck, right? And it's a fantastic fit. I mean, they're not the meat grinders.
Right.
But if you look at their statistics and you put Wah in there, and we'll get to him next, that 4th line is really producing. I mean, the fact that Coach Cassidy is doing the same sort of thing that Gerard Gallant did by starting the 4th line and not caring, who the other team started, shows incredible amount of faith for in a line that the coach said he needed more on. So I think Carrier is the absolute breakout surprise of the first 20 games.
Yeah, he's been good, but it's hard to have him as the breakout player on the team when you have Eichel that's just lighting it up.
Right, but Eichel is being Eichel, and we didn't expect this from Carrier. Was that fair?
Did you expect what you're seeing from Michael? Did you expect that?
100%.
100%.
100%. 1,000%.
Okay.
He is one of the best 5 players in the NHL, bar none.
Okay.
Did you watch? I mean, you watched the game last night. Did you see the back check late in the third period?
I did.
Where he came from the opposite blue line and slid toward his own net at the top of our dot to poke the puck away. Last year's Jack Eichel, I shouldn't say last year because we don't really know. Buffalo's Jack Eichel needed directions to their goalie. It was like, hey, Jack, that guy over there, he's on our team. Okay. This Jack Eichel has 100% bought into
Cassidy's system.
Cassidy's system and 200 feet of ice. So the answer to your question is 1,000%. Eichel is giving me.
And not to take anything away from Eichel, he's also playing now with a really good team as opposed to who he was playing with in Buffalo.
Sure, which is why he's doing exactly as I
and
expect.
Which now why he's committed to playing both ways. You know, he had to do what he did in Buffalo because they had no scoring.
Right.
But he's comfortable enough knowing that besides him, he has 3 or 4 guys, I don't want to say underneath him, but alongside of him that can put the puck in the net. So he can afford to be more defensive minded also to make for a better result. And it's all about winning. Like last night, his 2 shots were blazers, but one went off a Stone, one went off a Carrier. When the shots were taken, you thought they were both Eichel's goals.
Right.
Yeah. But they
okay. Nick Waugh.
As expected. I mean, he's hurt right now. He hasn't really done anything to make me say above expectations, but he hasn't done anything to let me say below expectations. So as expected on Nick Waugh.
Yeah, I think that he's doing exactly what Nick Waugh does.
Right.
He'll end up with 10 or 12 goals. He'll be on PK2 once they get sort of lined up.
And I think he's eventually going to wind up on the third line also.
Yep. So I think that once he gets on the third line and he gets with somebody like Kessel, I think his offensive numbers will probably go up even further. And I think that that's also going to jumpstart Kessel because he's going to be playing with somebody who's more aggressive and let's just say further in their development than the others.
Right.
That's probably a fair way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Keegan Colasar. This is a tough one. This guy scores more goals.
He used his head last night.
Listen, he might have the NHL record for most goals without using a stick. His ass put one in a couple of days ago.
His head, right?
He took one off the head. He scores more non-conventional goals than anybody. But how's he doing?
I'm not a fan of Keegan Colasar.
Okay.
When I say I'm not a fan, I think he's underperforming. And I think we may get into something later on in the podcast where there's a possibility of moving him. Maybe. I wouldn't miss him if he's moved. I don't think he was kept here for his toughness. I don't see his toughness. I don't see his scoring ability. He's got hands of stones. He scores, like you said, with everything other than his stick. But, I'm not a big fan of Keegan Colasar and what he brings to the table. I think we can find another clog on the fourth line. And when I call him a clog, I don't say that in a demeaning way, but the fourth line is noted for taking up some ice time, trying to create energy and give the first line some energy to come out on the ice too. I don't think Keegan Colasar provides that at all.
So you think that he's a bust? You think that protecting him from the waiver wire, and I mean he scored pretty decent in junior. I think he was 20 plus goals.
Junior hockey is not NHL hockey.
Okay, so he's a cog in the wheel that doesn't fit.
If he was not on a team, he would not be missed.
Scathing controversy started on Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 44. Okay, that wraps up the offensive side of the puck. How are the Golden Knights doing defensively?
Excellent.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You know,
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's it. I need more of an explanation. Tell me why they're excellent, and I'll tell you why they're not.
Okay. I think they're well. We're looking at the overall picture here. Okay.
Correct.
Now, they're getting the puck out of the zone. May be their only minus, so to speak. But offensively, I mean, Pietrangelo has got 20 points in 20
We're
games.
not talking about
We're
offense.
talking about defense, right?
Defense.
Well, we're talking. Well, no, I think
Not talking about transition game.
No.
Defense.
But I think you're wrong here, Eddie. If you want to talk about the defense and you want to talk about overall the defense, you have to talk about what the defense provides offensively too. And if you have a defenseman like Pietrangelo, who's scoring 20 points in 20 games and has had 3-point games recently, how do you
Okay.
not go over?
Then
that?
let me rephrase
that
it.
up.
How are they from their blue line in?
They need to be better in breaking the puck out of the zone. I will say that. But when you ask me how are the defensemen,
no, we're going to get to the defense. No, we're going to get to the defensemen. How are the Golden Knights from their blue line to the goal line?
You mean from the goal line out to their defensive blue line?
Yeah,
okay.
Either way.
Okay. They need a little bit. They need to improve on getting the puck out of the zone, and they also need to get some help from their forwards too. And that hasn't happened. Also, I mean, they can only get the puck so far. They still need some support from the forwards that are basically at the top of the faceoff circle and between the blue line. If they're not getting any support there, it's going to make them look bad in getting the puck out. And that's happened. It happened at the game at T-Mobile where Mark Stone had 2 golden opportunities to get the puck out, and they didn't, and it wound up behind Logan Thompson. I believe that was against San Jose, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so when you talk about getting the puck out, you just can't talk about the defenseman, Eddie. You have to talk about the secondary support from the forwards who are at the half wall, who are supposed to be helping them get the puck out.
Well, I think that what do they say? What's the saying? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. This is their bugaboo. It's only 20 NHL games into the system. I get that, but this team does not so far move the puck well in their zone. I could give you 100 occasions where the puck's gone up the wall and
gone out.
The wall side forward has his back to the blue line and chips the puck to the center, and there's nobody there, or the pass gets picked off. They aren't, to me, in sync, moving the puck around their zone and then out of their zone. And we've explored. Hold on, we've explored before that Coach Cassidy doesn't want those wall forwards coming down too far. He's trying to squeeze the zone this way by keeping that forward up high and preventing teams from going back out to the point. I understand that.
It's hard to be critical of a defensive core that's won 4 times as many games as they lost. The team is 15-4-1. I think you're being picky here by picking on the defense, in my opinion.
Well, but
have they made a couple of snafus in getting the puck out of the zone? Absolutely, but they're 15-4-1. They're 9-1-1 on the road.
It's not a matter of picking on them. It's a matter of analyzing the play in the zone. And I think of all the things that in all aspects of the Golden Knights game, the thing that they are not doing as good as all the other things is breaking the puck out of the zone and still some defensive zone coverage. There's a couple of times where you can't just say it's blue sky because they're winning.
But Eddie, you cannot blame this solely on the sixth defenseman.
It's not solely on them, but it is defensive zone. There were a lot of games that they won where they outscored their opponent and they gave up a lot of goals to subpar teams. I bring to your attention Ottawa and Montreal and Buffalo on the road trip. They're giving up 3-4 goals to shitbox teams because they're not playing well in the defensive zone. You don't give up 3 or 4 goals to the bottom 3 teams in the NHL if you're playing well in the defensive zone. I'm not saying that they're playing terrible.
This doesn't only sit on a defenseman. The forwards have responsibilities also.
But the forwards are limited in their responsibility. They can't come down and get if the hard around, if it goes up the wall and it doesn't come all the way to them, they can't go down and get it because they give up the blue line. So if the defensemen aren't getting,
I disagree with you. I think the puck not every time, a lot of times has gotten up high enough for the forwards to get it out, and the forwards have failed to get it out.
I agree with you that that's happened.
Absolutely. You cannot put the blame solely on the defenseman if they get the puck to where they're supposed to get it, up to the half wall, but the forwards aren't getting it, chipping it back out. You can't blame the defenseman for that.
More often than not, the puck's not getting all the way up there. That's my take.
And I'd have to go back and look at a lot of tape on that, but I've seen many situations where the puck is high on the half wall and the forwards are not getting out.
Okay, but that's the perfect dividing line. If the puck is high on the half wall and it gets to the forward, then it's the forward's fault for not clearing the zone.
And that happened twice on one particular play, and the puck wound up behind Logan Thompson.
And what I putting to you is more often than not, the puck doesn't get high enough on the half wall that the forward has to turn his back to the blue line to try to make a play.
This is it's you know what? It's a 5-man unit out there, and to lay the blame on 2 guys only, I think you're being unfair, Eddie. It's my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. I just think that laying the blame squarely on the 2 defensemen is unfair.
I'm talking about how the team defends. I don't think it's good enough.
Okay, it's your opinion. I think they're playing well.
Shea Theodore, above expectation, as expected, or below?
As expected. I mean, as
expected with less defensive lapses.
Yeah, exactly. And more, and he's scored some key goals so far this year.
Yes.
I think he leads the team, whole franchise in game-winning goals in overtime too, right?
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
I think he's really sort of settled in. I mean, him and McNabb are a great pair. I mean, they're a perfect complement to each other.
He can afford to be more offensively aggressive, because McNabb is more defensively sound.
Right. And
the same with the 2 Alexes, Pietrangelo and Martinez.
So I think Shea Theodore is actually a little above, and I think that he's benefiting from the offensive freedom that Coach Cassidy's system. They said, listen, we want you to be conservative in the neutral zone, but once the puck's in, he gives them some more latitude to work. So I think in that element,
he's able to look forward more because he knows he's got McNabb behind him.
Right. And for McNabb, I think he's exactly
solid.
As we 1,000%.
McNabb has always been solid since day one.
Right. I think if you look up consistency in the Golden Knights book, that's it. There isn't really much else to say. He'll probably chip in 2 or 3 goals.
Over the whole franchise's history, he's probably been their most reliable, solid defenseman is McNabb.
Okay. Alec Martinez.
I'm going to say as expected. He blocks shots, continues to block shots, came off a real scary injury that, as you know, he got very emotional about when he spoke about it. Thought it ended his career. I mean, he has a really nasty scar from that injury, but he's back at it, blocking shots and not afraid to put his body in front of pucks. And he allows Pietrangelo to showcase his offensive side once again, like Theodore does with McNabb. Pietrangelo knows that he's got Martinez behind him, who's blocking shots. He's defensively sound, gives Pietrangelo the ability to create more offense, and he has. He's got, like I said, he's got 20 points in 20 games. It's he's on an 82-point season.
I don't think that this is a tough one but I think that this one is a tough one to quantify. I think that Alec Martinez does a million things that if you don't know what you're watching, don't make any
You don't
sense.
see it.
He does every little thing right. His attention to detail and his nuance and understanding defensive zone play. Not that we are super smart hockey fans or anything like that, but we do have a little bit of an understanding for some of the small things in the game. And he does everything exactly the way you would script a defenseman to do it. And he does it so matter-of-factly that it's doesn't look like he's flexing on anybody. He's just doing exactly what you expect to do.
Right. Yep.
And he's never out of position. He's never, he doesn't make a bad first pass. He does everything so well that it flies under most people's radar because you don't hear his name 45 times in a broadcast like you do Pietrangelo. So I think he is exactly what they want at $5.25 million. And he's back to being the Alec Martinez that they expect and that they need him to be.
And speaking of hearing Pietrangelo's names 45 times, if you're watching the game on ESPN, you hear his name mispronounced 45 times also.
46 times, in fact.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Petro Angelo. But anyway, okay, so let's talk about Mr. Alec Pietrangelo. Above, below, as expected. I'm going first.
You're going to go first.
I'm going to go first. I think that he had a slow start to the season. I think that his normal free range style of play was maybe the hardest transition for any of the Golden Knights to make. When Coach Cassidy said, we want you to be a little bit more conservative in the neutral zone because we have a structure and a way that we want to play. And on the power play, we want you to be more of an enabler to be a shooter. I think of all the Golden Knights, he's the person who had to make the most adjustments in his natural game. And I think that was a little bit slow out of the gate as he was sort of finding his legs and maybe overthinking it as opposed to acting impulse, go, twitch, go. But I think in the last 8 games, he has 3 3-point games. And I think that he has now found what it's supposed to be, what the expectations are for him, exactly what he should be doing and what he can't be doing. And I think that this is the Alec Pietrangelo that we paid for. And I think that it's only going to get better. He may not score 15 or 18 goals, but he could easily have 45 assists. So I think that after a bit of a slow start, I think that 20-20 is probably overperforming a little bit as far as the actual points expectation, but you can't say anything bad about his play at all.
Not at all.
That's my side.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's playing as expected and maybe leaning a little bit towards more than expected or better than expected. I think he's adjusted well to what Bruce has asked him to do defensively, and it's kind of carried over to where he's feel more comfortable when on the offensive side of the puck, and it showed. Like I said, he's on pace for possibly an 80-point season, which would be great for a defenseman to have an 80-point season.
Stunning.
Yeah,
that would be stunning. All right, let's get to arguably the best third pair of D in the NHL, according to Coach DJ Smith of the Ottawa Senators. Zach Whitecloud. Go ahead.
Always good. He's just as expected, solid, reliable. I don't think he's overperforming, but I think he's giving you exactly what you're going to get from Zach Whitecloud.
I think it may go down in the lore as the greatest free agent signing that they've ever made. I've been a fan he was such a shy kid when he first came out, right? And he's done nothing but progress. His game has got better and better. He shows the occasional flash of offense, but defensively, he's a budding rock star. And I think on the majority of teams in the NHL, he is not a 5'6" defenseman. I think he's only a 5'6" defenseman because of
Because
the
of
four
who's
horses,
in front of him here.
the four horses in front of
Yep.
him. He is, again, like McNabb, but with a tinge more offense. He is exactly what the Golden Knights want him to be. And it's exactly what the Golden Knights need him to be. And he knows his role and he plays it to perfection.
Yep.
Nick Hague.
Less than expected. I think Hague's gotten off to a rocky start this season. But then again, he also missed all of training camp.
Right.
Didn't come on until, I don't know, a couple of games into the season. 2 or 3, I think, right? He missed the first 2 games.
He missed the installation at camp of the systems. That's
Right.
the big thing.
So I think it's showing now. He's kind of trying to get up to speed. Sometimes he looks a little lost out there. He seems to be flopping a lot, which I don't like. Last night he was on his knees in front of a goal on one of the Vancouver goals. So as far as I'm concerned, and I think you can probably point to the fact that, as you said, he missed his initiation into the system. He's trying to get up to speed, and he missed all of training camp, and he missed a couple of games. So less than expected on Nick Hague.
Is that something that reps will fix? Or is he going to be perennially behind?
Right. Do you agree that on Nick Hague, less than expected?
I think so. I think that, listen, it's a business and the young man has to do what the young man has to do to get his bag, right? And get paid. I understand that, but he picked possibly the worst time in the world to be a restricted free agent with no arbitration rights.
He had no arbitration rights at all, right?
Because what he missed was the installation of the systems. I feel like you said, I feel like he's swimming out there sometimes where it's not, again, the tendency in hockey is if you think too much, you make mistakes, right? It's supposed to be instinct. People are where they're supposed to be, you know what you're supposed to do. But if you get it in your head and you start processing it, and that processing of almost always screws things up. So I think that he's probably performed as expected given the circumstance.
Okay.
I think if he was in camp from day one, we would be talking about him sort of the same way that we talk about Zach Whitecloud. But the fact that he is behind, I don't know how you say this. He's not up to speed with this. He's not up to speed with the systems yet. And the only fault is because he wanted to get paid. I don't think that he's lacking the ability to get to where they need him to be, but I think he's probably another 10, 15 games-ish from being to the point where every single thing he does is just sort of instinctual
Right.
and reactive. So
there you go.
Onward we move to the goaltending. That's an interesting one. They certainly started out in a blaze of glory, leading in goals against and leading in save percentage and everything like that. But in the last few games, there's been a bit of a regression, and I don't think you can deny it. Again, you can't blame any two people. Like, you don't want to blame the two defensemen. You can't blame the goalies for most of the goals. In fact, if I think about it, there's only been one just horrific goal that they've given up, and that was the Aiden Hill miscommunication goal back a few games. But overall, considering the expectation that they had starting a rookie goalie and bringing in you can't say anything other than a journeyman, right? Logan Thompson is 20 wins in his first 30 games as an NHL starter. How's he doing? Above expectation? Right on expectation? or below expectation?
Well, in my opinion, the season started. The biggest question mark for the team was their goaltending. They didn't really have a number one goaltender, and they were going with a young kid in Logan Thompson, who I think had like 15 or 16 games under his belt from last year. It was a very small window. The team was in desperation mode, trying to make the playoffs. So when the season started, I don't know if there was even a lot of
Any expectation?
any expectations at all for Logan Thompson, and I think he's exceeded those. And like you say, coming out of the gate, he was, and it had a lot had to do with the system and the players in front of him. There's been a couple of miscues defensive wise in front of him, and it showed. He's given up a couple of goals. I think he's given up 3 or 4 goals in a couple of games.
Yep.
I would say that, as expected for Logan Thompson, maybe a tinge, only because of the no expectations. We weren't really sure what we were going to see from Logan Thompson. I think he's been admirably playing well. I think he played well last night. I think he's played well. And I'm not disappointed at all in his performance. And your goaltender is only as good as your defenseman, and then only as good as your forwards that are in front of you or the system that you're playing. And I think he's reaped the benefits of Cassidy's system.
I think for sure, when we had no expectation, we didn't know what the hell we were going to get. I think we hoped that we would get the Logan Thompson that finished last season. But I think that he's probably even exceeded where we thought they would be. And I agree with you 100%. And we have 6 years in Boston to prove that Bruce Cassidy's system is goaltender friendly. It's not a point for debate. I think that playing in Bruce Cassidy's system has allowed Logan Thompson to probably be a little bit more comfortable as a goalie, where previous systems exposed him significantly more. Not that they need to shield him, because he's making the saves.
Yeah.
But I think that systemically, I think that he goes into the games now saying, hey, this team defends pretty well. It's not going to be a firing squad at me every single night. And I think that that's done nothing but increase Logan Thompson's confidence and makes him, and he's a pretty confident cat.
And Eddie, what he's getting now that he wasn't getting last year, he's getting scoring. The team is scoring in front of him. They weren't putting him into shootouts, because they were, 1-1, 2-2 games, and then we go 0 for 17 in shootouts, which looked bad for Logan Thompson, but he played well. Just that we went 0 for 17 in shootouts last season when we needed 1 goal to win a game, and we didn't get it. Now we're getting scoring.
I think that all of the things that Bruce Cassidy has installed has made Logan Thompson a legitimate number 1 goaltender in the NHL. Now, I may be getting a little bit out over my skis there, but I think that the more reps that he gets and the better that they get at playing their system, especially in the D zone, I think that Logan Thompson has a spectacular, outstanding chance to be a legitimate number 1 goalie in the NHL if he isn't already.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say that. I think right now, Cassidy's system is helping him to kind of get comfortable underneath his pad, so to speak. I think it's also done wonders for Aiden Hill, who has struggled in previous organizations that he's with. He didn't have good teams in front of him. He was with Arizona and San Jose, which, have been sieves of the league over the last couple of years. Now, Aiden Hill's playing in front of a team that's pretty respectable offensively and defensively, and it's showing in his record. I mean, Aiden Hill's played well also. I mean, the goaltending, which we both agreed when we did our first podcast this season, was probably the biggest question mark for the Vegas Golden Knights. That is not the question mark anymore. I think the question mark right now for the Vegas Golden Knights is, what do you do with the third line? How do you fix the third line? There's no longer talk about, well, is the goaltending going to be good enough? The goaltending is fine.
So so let's move to Aiden Hill. I mean, the record is exemplary. The save percentage is in order. The goals against is in order. I'm just not quite as confident, I think, with him as I am with Thompson. But I think at some point this year, instead of it going 1-1-1-1, I think it's going to start to evolve toward 2-1 and 3-1 toward Logan Thompson. And I do think that, again, this is all sort of based on the system that the Golden Knights play in front of them. I think that Aiden Hill will have the best year of his career, and he's going to be a serviceable backup goalie. So I guess he's playing above expectation, because if you look at the record and the save percentage and the goals against, nobody saw that bad boy coming. But I also think, again, it's a lot because of the system. And I think that Coach Cassidy is having less and less and less concern about putting him in the net where he's going to pitch an absolute stinker.
And I think that was pretty evident, because you even, kind of tapped me on the shoulder in the press box at the last home game.
Oh, I thought they were going the other way.
You thought they were going the other way, that they wouldn't play.
I admit that. I absolutely
they wouldn't
thought it
play
was
Hill
going the other
against
way.
Edmonton. You thought they were going to come back with Logan, and they put Hill in the net, and he played well. I mean, they lost in overtime.
Listen, everybody gets McDavided. That's it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coaching.
No, we got to do special teams.
All right.
Let's do the special teams and then do the coaching. I think let's start with the power play. It's running in the middle of the pack.
Which is a vast
NHL.
improvement from last year.
Right. But I think that, last year we kind of talked about it a couple of times where we're going to see glimpses of stuff. Now we see glimpses of what that power play is going to be every game. They throw the occasional dud in there, and zone entries I still think are not nearly as good as they need to be. Oh man, when they get locked in the zone, that shot and puck retrieval, they're going to put the fear of God in other teams.
But there've been too many times where they have the puck in the zone and they just don't get a shot on that.
Right. I think that they definitely need Coach Littlejohn to come in there.
Shots.
And because I still think they get a little pretty sometimes where they could just be pouring the puck on net. But you can see now on both units. You can see with Eichel on one half wall, with Marchessault on the other, with Kessel on the half wall in power play 2, you can see that they have the potential, if they get a little fire under them, to be just devastating. The true talent of their team will shine through. So they're certainly not above expectation. They're certainly not below expectation. So I would say that they're as expected, trending significantly better. Would be if they were a stock, I would say their price is spot on, but the upshot is just absolutely massive.
And they tend to be less fancy on the road. I think at T-Mobile, they try to be a little bit too cute.
They want to give us the highlight reel at home.
Exactly.
And on the road, they're just like, fuck it, stick it in the net and let's go.
Exactly.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I think they get a little bit too quick. They want to do a little. I know Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world, and I think the Vegas Golden Knight power play is trying to entertain the people at T-Mobile. Just play like you play on the road. Be very
aggressive. Pump the net full. Pump.
Exactly.
Pump, shoot.
Right.
So I think they're trending upward. The penalty kill, again, it's sort of in the middle of the road. They are tied for the NHL lead in shorthanded goals, which sort of is a staple of every year for them. I think it's probably as expected, but just not getting the all in all percentage wise results that we would expect. We would expect them probably to be higher in the league than they are.
I think there's been one or two games where their penalty kill has had a better scoring opportunity than their power play.
Oh, I think there's been at least two
Yeah.
or three of those games.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think you can go wrong when you roll out Carlson and Riley Smith, and then you roll out. And Mark Stone started to kill some more penalties recently, which is a bit of a surprise. But when you have Stone and Stevenson and Waugh, I think their PK will continue to improve as they, they're just good hockey players.
Yeah,
Good hockey players.
And Stone on the power play, I'll tell you why he's a benefit. He's just got a huge wingspan and he's got that long stick. So he takes away passing lanes and he gets a stick where,
On the PK.
On PK, that's what I'm talking
On the
about.
PK.
On PK.
Yeah.
He's a huge asset on the PK because of his wingspan and because he probably has one of the longest sticks in the league too. And that helps. So he kind of clogs up the middle, takes away passing lanes. So Stone on the penalty kill is excellent.
Yeah, for something that's normally for the most fleet of foot, power.
Yeah, he's not the best
penalty
skater.
kill.
He's not the best skater in the world.
Not the fleetest of foot, but he certainly makes up for that with his on ice smarts. And he's always been one of the best defensive forwards in the league.
His hockey smarts and Cassidy has pointed that out numerous times. He sees things that other players just don't see.
So I would say probably a little bit underperforming just because of the percentage and where they are in the league. But I'm not worried about the penalty.
You're talking about the penalty kill?
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I think their penalty kill has been excellent. I actually like their penalty kill better than their power play. How's that?
I don't think you can say that.
I just did.
But statistically, I don't think you can back it up.
I think that penalty. I think teams fear that penalty kill, especially when Riley Smith's on the ice.
Well, as they should,
but I don't think. And okay, when I say that because I think if you had two teams looking at a power play by the Vegas Golden Knights or a penalty kill, I think they're more concerned about the penalty kill because they know that if they make one slight error, especially at that blue line or a shot gets blocked, that puck's going the other way.
It's going the other way, sure.
And Riley Smith and William Karlsson coming down on a 2-on-1 is most of the time is getting behind the goaltender for a shorthanded goal.
So you
my
think?
Opinion.
So Joe thinks that the penalty kill is better than the power play. I'll say I'm not worried about either of them.
Okay,
it's 20 games in. There are positive signs afoot everywhere, especially on the power play. Coaching. I'll go
better than expected.
I'm going to say it's going exactly as expected, but I had enormously high expectations for Bruce Cassidy.
And he's proven you correctly.
And I think that he's fulfilled every single thought that I had about how this team is going to be with him, driving the boat. So
including him being very transparent to us at post game.
Yeah.
Answering questions.
I think that
we haven't had that in 6 years.
I think, and maybe me more than you, because we haven't really talked about this. I had humongous expectations for him after watching Boston play and seeing how he was as a coach. I don't think that my expectations could have been any higher, but he's also met all of them. So with those two statements, he's exactly what I want as a head coach. The Golden Knights are playing exactly as I want them as a team. They're getting contributions that they haven't got in previous years. They're getting more consistent goaltending, which is a new goalie coach. Every single thing about what I expected Bruce Cassidy to bring to the table, he's brought in spades. So I'm going to say,
I agree.
I'm going to say that he's performing exactly as I expected.
Okay.
But with the caveat of I had enormous expectations for what he would do for this team.
I didn't, unlike you, I didn't follow Boston a lot, so I didn't really know a lot about Cassidy. So to me, he's been a very pleasant surprise, and I think he's taken this team above and beyond what I thought where they would be right now. I never thought they would be 15-4-1, 20 games into a season, and 9-1-1 on the road. I mean, we know how difficult it is to win on the road, and they've only lost one game on the road. Well, I mean, one in overtime, but one game on the road, basically.
They look like they play freer on the road to me, looser and freer. And
Okay.
I don't know if it's that thing of they want to give the highlight reel, they want to put on a show. But to me, I'm not going to say they're a better road team than a home team. There's no way to know that. I know that they are, as a team, you would have to say, and we'll finish this report card up with the Golden Knights exceeding expectations, playing as you expected, when there's not even a reason to say below. So
No,
are they
as far
doing
as I'm concerned, they're exceeding expectations right now.
far exceeding?
I wouldn't say far exceeding, because like I said, and I hate to repeat myself, the main question this season coming in was the goaltending, and the goaltending is not a problem. And Jack Eichel is Jack Eichel. I mean, I didn't expect him to be this good this quickly, but he's had a full off season, a full healthy off season, a full training camp, and boy, it's showing. This man is just he's smooth as silk.
So you'll say I'll say that they have exceeded expectation in the record. I don't think anyone in the world could have seen 15-4-1 after
No.
20. But I'll say that as a team and the way that they're playing, aside from the one little thing that they mentioned a number of times where they really haven't strung together 60 minutes yet, I would say as a team, I think that they're playing above expectation. Playing. The record, far above. But I think that I think if you ask Coach Cassidy, you're 15-4-1 after 20, how do you think the team is doing? I think he would be surprised that the team is doing so well. Take the record out of it. I'm talking about adapting to the system, playing the way he wants him to play. I think he would be even a little bit complimentary that the team is coming along a little bit better than he probably expected after.
I think he might have been, if they blew a third period lead last night. They went to third period leading 2-1, and all of a sudden it's now
4-2 against.
Yeah. I think he would have been really upset, but the Golden Knights pretty much pulled up their bootstraps and got back to work.
No. Let's be honest here, Joe. He would have blown a fucking gasket if they lost that game last night.
Yeah.
Because the one time we saw Cranky Butch was when they blew that lead at home. Right? Every other time we get a very sort of level, exactly on point, right? But the only time we've seen him steamed is when they blew that third period lead. If they would have lost that game last night to a team that's blown 4, I think, 2-goal leads in the third period, he'd have blown a gasket.
Yeah.
It would have not have been pretty. That's for sure. So that's going to be it. We did a lot of work. Oh, I have to talk about the bet, the wager, because I got to talk to my friend Dr. JJ Pierce at
Ageless Forever.
Yeah, I'm choking because of what I'm about to say. At www.agelessforever.net. I couldn't give you the dare, the challenge, the bet last time because it's a medical procedure that we're talking about, and I wasn't sure if I could qualify for it, so I had to talk to Dr. Pierce about it. So there is this thing that is offered for men's health. It's called platelet-rich plasma injections. Ever hear of that, Joe?
I believe I do. Is when they draw your blood out of you, clean it up, and then put it back in?
They do. They take out a big tube of blood. They put it in this thing called a centrifuge where they spin all the impurities out of it. And then you basically get blood back that is as pure, and it's like a vampire kind of thing, this PRP stuff. Athletes use it all the time. They use it on their knees, they use it on their shoulders. It's the most incredible, natural, healthy remedy for all the things that can help you. Now, I sent you an article when we were sitting in the press box.
You did.
About a UFC fighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about
who had the procedure done in a very unusual part of his body.
Okay, so listen. Here's the headline, folks. UFC fighter gets shot in his dong. Just so you know, we're all friends here, so we're gonna talk about it. This platelet-rich plasma stem cell kind of injection works wonders for a man's manhood. It increases everything down there. It's the fountain of youth. It's the greatest thing they're saying ever. This is no more Cialis. This is no more Viagra. This is none of this stuff. But you have to take a shot in the dong. Now, Joe, am a team player for Hockey Nights in Vegas.
You're gonna take one for the team? You taking one for the team? If we get 500 views, likes, and comments, unique, we can't just have Land type one word at a time. If we get 500 views on this podcast, I'm going to take a shot in the dong for Hockey Nights in Vegas. And not only that, you're not taking it for Hockey Nights in Vegas. You're taking it for your own personal satisfaction.
I have no personal satisfaction. I am going to take one for the team. I'm going to take a needle in the dong. And not only that, I'm going to film it.
And
not
then
not the dong part.
And then
I'm going to
click.
I'm going to have somebody in the room, and they're going to be able to watch me suffer and take this shot on behalf of Hockey Nights in Vegas.
And then you're going to renew your subscription to Pornhub?
Do you have to subscribe to that now? I didn't know. But anyway, but all kidding aside, I'm going to do it, but it really is a thing. Platelet-rich plasma therapy is a way, if you have an elbow or a shoulder or a wrist, things that aren't healing, right? And you don't want to have surgery, this is a safe, clean, procedure that has incredibly successful results. They've been doing it in Europe, in Germany, for decades. You read about it every summer. NBA players go over and get PRP therapy, right? The reason that really successful people get PRP therapy is because it works. It may be a little unusual what I'm threatening to do if we get to that number. But again, I'm a team player. And if you want some absolutely priceless video, 500, that's our magic number. We get 500 views between Las Vegas Advisor and the YouTube channel and the links we put up and everything like that. Dr. J.J. Pierce said that he will let me have that treatment. He won't be doing it, thank God, because I've known him forever, and that's probably pushing the borders of our friendship. But that's it. 500, shot in the dong, and some unbelievable video with me in like the surgical thing, and it's going to be. I'm doing it, Joe. I'm doing it for Hockey Nights in Vegas.
You may be doing it, but I'm not watching the video.
www.agelessforever.net. That's your resource for anything and everything men's and women's health. Be the best you can be. Do something for yourself for the holidays or forever. Do something that makes you feel better as you get older in life. You may not need to go to the extreme that I'm going to go because I'm a team player and Joe's not. But I understand that would be traumatic for a man of Joe's age. Me, I'm a little younger. I may scream and yell and whine, and you may even get to see me cry because I don't know how painful it's going to be. But that aside, anything that you need, that you think you need to make yourself better and to make yourself feel better, you can get at www.agelessforever.net with Dr. J.J. Pierce. Go to the website, sign up for the free consultation that you get because you're friends with Joe and this idiot who's going to take a shot in the dong for watches. But do it, because all kidding aside, your health is important. And this is a way that you can do things and not be hamstrung by people who tell you you can't do this and you can't do that. This is out of the box, medically sound, free thinking ways to get you to be the best you that you can be. So that's going to wrap it up, I think. I'm hungry. Are you hungry?
Not after hearing about what you're going to do to get dong. No, not at all.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll skip the Roma Deli commercial for this episode, but we will tell you that Hockey Nights in Vegas is brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor, www.lasvegasadvisor.com. Anthony Curtis's Las Vegas Advisor for decades has been the go-to place for every single thing that you want to know, that you need to know, if you need to know where to go. Everything Vegas is available to you at www.lasvegasadvisor.com. And we're happy that they're putting us on the interweb for all of you. And in an upcoming episode, Joe and I might be in the same room. We're going to try something a little different, but that's coming up soon. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe, like the podcast, share it with your friends. You can find it on Spotify, on SoundCloud. We're working on Apple. Pretty much any place you get a podcast, we're going to be up there. There's lots of opportunities to listen to the podcast without seeing our faces, if that's your preference. We totally get that as well. But whatever you do, like it, follow it, share it. 500 is the magic number, ladies and gentlemen. And I really want the 500. I'm a little frightened of paying off the bet, so I can.
But since you mentioned food, maybe I will go to Roma Deli because it's the best place in town to get something to eat, especially if it's Italian food, is what you have a taste for.
So you want to go to Roma now?
Not right now. No, not right now.
Not right now. All right, that's a wrap for episode 44. I talked Joe out of going out of Roma Deli. That must be something significant. Thank you all for watching. As always, we'll see you again next week with episode 45. Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.